Welcome to the Crimson Snake Podcast, where I'll be discussing a game. Hello, I am Crimson Snake of the Crimson Skeletons. During this show, I will be discussing the new Legend of Zelda release, Breath of the Wild. Now, this discussion will be done by a 33-year-old who had been playing the first Legend of Zelda game since he was a child. And that person is me, of course. I have recently purchased a Switch over my spring break. Spring break because I work in education, and when the kids are off, I'm also off anyway. And that's all I've been playing. These are my thoughts that I have collected while playing the game. I hope they are of some insight to you. The creators took inspiration for Breath of the Wild from the first game and had said the game would be open world, just like in the first game. That alone grabbed my interest in playing the new Zelda title. I'll get into this later, but every Zelda title on a main console has been somewhat the same. The exploration factor is back in Breath of the Wild. Ever since Zelda 2, the map of Hyrule kind of guides you through the land, as if telling you where to go next. It became linear. Let me explain. In The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, you could explore Hyrule, but not all of it. If you wanted to go to this section of the map, there was always something obstructing your path. Let's say you had to go into the dungeon and find a hammer or something to remove that obstruction that was in your way. However, in Breath of the Wild, you can literally go wherever you want, anywhere. You can visit any dungeon out of order, assuming if there even is an order. In addition to that, the map of Hyrule is incredibly huge, and I mean huge. Like Donald Trump saying huge, huge. Huger than the map of Skyrim. Like, I feel it's larger than the map of Skyrim. It has to be like 2 or 3 times larger than Skyrim. In the beginning of the game, you are stuck on a plateau for the time being. During this time, the game is something like a tutorial section. There's an old man who helps you, and I think this is a callback to the first game where he gave you a sword. Instead of a wooden sword, he gives you a paraglider to get off the plateau. Once this happens, you go up to the cliff, you jump off, you whip out your paraglider, and you sail to the land below. And when this happens, your adventure begins. Now let me talk about gameplay. I will say this. Forget everything you knew about previous console Zelda titles. That information will no longer help you. Nothing will help you. Not even a little, "Hey, listen," fairy will help you. This game is all about figuring things out for yourself. You will learn how to cook, how to brew elixirs, how to fight, how to solve puzzles in all new dungeons and trials, and especially when to flee from battle. Because this game is hard. Yes, even the old school difficulty is back. One enemy can literally destroy you in one hit. And that's just a regular enemy, not a boss or a mini-boss. Yeah, there are mini-bosses, and they can be found throughout the world of Hyrule. You can just be walking along, and a big giant rock monster appears out of nowhere or something. Or if you're walking in a swamp and there's a giant Ganon-like creature, it's really intimidating to look at. Even though it's sleeping, if you don't want to go near it. Cooking is a thing that you must learn. You will need life replenishment. If you do survive a deadly attack, your life will be drained. I have played this game all week, and I have not seen one heart that was dropped by an enemy after you defeated it. Enemies are so tough that you have to rely on stat-boosting potions and food to get by. So get used to cooking and brewing. Rupees are rare too. You'll have to end up selling items that you find or make, such as potions and ores. Link can climb. Oh yes, not just ladders. He can climb walls, rocks, mountains, pretty much anything. I love that. Unlike the Lone Wanderer or the Courier or the Dragonborn, for example, Link can easily climb over mountains and obstructions to reach his destination. Climbing drains your stamina wheel, though, so keep an eye out for that. Since the game is based on a survivalist environment, Link must also abide by climates. Unlike the Dragonborn, Link can traverse frigid temperatures with ease. Let's say if he's on a mountaintop and there's snow, there's wind, there's freezing water, there's all these kind of things that will chill Link to the bone. It will affect him. He will need to equip proper clothing and potions and food. Same things applies to hot environments. Link will take damage without proper care. I found that out when I first played the game. I was trying to get to the last trial, right? And it's on the top of a snow mountain, right? And I kept walking in there, and Link is only wearing a shirt and pants at this point in the game. He's just freezing. It's like he's taking damage. I only have like 3 hearts on me. And what do I do? It turns out you have to learn how to cook. You have to cook these spicy hot peppers. Once you eat them, you'll gain resistance to the cold, and then you can traverse the mountain. It was awesome. I figured that out myself. It's fun. And that's what this game is kind of like. Combat. Let's talk about combat for a moment. This game alters combat from previous Zelda titles. Sure, the Z targeting is there, quote, quote, Z targeting. But there's one difference. Link can enter what I call, witch time from Bayonetta series, for example. When he dodges an attack at the right moment, when this happens, Link can unload on an enemy with a flurry of attacks. When he's in the air, he can do the same thing with bows. He can slow down time a little bit to take aim, but you better do it quickly because aiming in, quote, witch time really drains his stamina meter. And Link can equip different types of armor. He can wear armor that has special attributes such as resistance to cold, heat, and increases stealth. Yeah, stealth is also in the game, and the sneaking suit is one of my favorites, my personal favorites. Yeah, I mean Chica suit, but whatever. To me, it's a sneaking suit. There's nothing more satisfying than a sneak attack on an unsuspecting foe. Sneaking up to a sleeping foe at a camp, and you just unload on that SOV. Oh, that's so satisfying. The main game changer in this title is the Sheikah Slate. Yes, that's right. Link uses a smart tablet. This thing can summon bombs, use magnetism to lift heavy objects made of metal, stasis to suspend an object's animation for a brief moment, and of course, take photos and selfies. Why not? And he uploads them to Hyrule Book where he gets likes. Well, not that last part. This device significantly alters puzzles in the game, and it could leave you scratching your head even though you've been playing Zelda since the very get-go. Link can also equip different types of weapons. Short swords, great swords, axes, spears, all that kind of stuff. His traditional Master Sword makes an appearance, but good luck finding it. And good luck trying to pull it out of its pedestal once you find it. Remember in previous games when all you had to do was collect 3 relics and then go to the sword and it's yours? Well, I'll give you a hint on how to acquire the Master Sword after finding it in Breath of the Wild. What did you have to do in the first game when you wanted that sword you found in the cemetery? Think back, there were no 3 relics to collect back then. So what did you have to do? Well, that's your hint. Voice acting was long overdue in the Legend of Zelda series. This only exists in the cinematic scenes, however. In-game dialogue is still traditional grunts and sounds when we make one talking. That's good because I'm sick about having to hear about how your patrolling of the Mojave makes you wish for a nuclear winter. Do you think Breath of the Wild would be interesting if they had 30-minute dialogue scenes like in the Metal Gear series? There's so many other factors in the game that I haven't even touched on because this game is so large. It's almost overwhelming, really. It took me like all of spring break to finally map out the entire world of Hyrule. It's crazy. There's so much to do you can easily get sidetracked and pursue another quest. If you decide to try it out, you'll see for yourself just how immersive this game can be. And deep, it's just going to suck you in. It's not going to make you shower on weekends like I did. Okay, now I am prepared to talk about some major flaws in the game because no game is perfect, like people and cats. I'm going to open with the biggest mistake. This is the biggest thing that gets on my nerves in this game. Your weapons and shields will eventually break. Even the Master Sword. Though the Master Sword once broken, it needs some time to restore. This terrible flaw makes you not enjoy battle because you are always worried about which kind of weapon to use, which kind of weapons to save, and there's a weapon capacity limiting how much weapons you can carry. Now, why? Why would you do that? So you're telling me that I can have the Master Sword, but I can't really use it unless in a dire situation? Why can't I just have it all the time and slay evil? This takes away from the game and the feeling of having an adventure. Remember in Ocarina of Time when you buy the Goron knife and sooner or later it will break, and you know it will break. Now imagine that being applied to all of your weapons and shields in Breath of the Wild. This one issue completely cripples battle. It makes fighting evil not fun, and fighting evil in a Legend of Zelda game should always be fun. You shouldn't have to worry about the condition of your equipment, whether if you're fighting just a jobber or a dungeon boss. The second flaw is somewhat minor, but it still gets on my nerves. This flaw is the weather. It periodically rains in Hyrule, and when that happens, well, nothing should happen really, but anyway. When it rains, the rainwater makes surfaces too slippery to climb. So if you're climbing on a mountain and it begins to rain, you're screwed. So I often found myself just waiting out the rain in real time. Imagine someone coming along and just taking the controller away from you for several minutes. It's a chore. And once again, it takes away from having fun and finding adventure in a game where you're supposed to have fun and find adventure. What can be worse than the rain? I'll tell you. Lightning storms. That's right. They added lightning storms just to punish and inconvenience you further. Any equipment made out of metal will be conductive in a lightning storm. If you don't unequip these, you will get struck by lightning. This happened to me in the middle of paragliding, and I was just a sitting duck basically. You have to unequip metal-based equipment during a storm. I don't want to do that! I guess they wanted to be more realistic, but come on, it's a game. The third flaw. The blood moon. I hate you. What is the blood moon and what does it do? It respawns defeated enemies. When this happens, you'd often be in a safe spot, but let's say if you're clearing out an enemy camp and this happens, well, you're gonna get ganged on real hard. The enemies you defeated will come back and swarm you, but this is tolerable. I'm cool with that. But the real gripe is how the blood moon occurs. The gameplay is interrupted by a cinematic scene telling you that the blood moon is here. Why couldn't it just tell me on screen during gameplay? Why does it have to be like in Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, where a box that tells you what a horrible night it is to have a curse, or when the morning sun vanquished a horrible night? It can be skipped, but you have to sit through some loading time for it to pass. In conclusion, Breath of the Wild reintroduces that old-school open-world style of Zelda, along with the old-school difficulty. Yes, imagine if Nintendo covered the Elder Scrolls and Dark Souls. I've been craving for an open-world Zelda for so long. Ever since Ocarina of Time came out in 1998, every major Zelda title afterward had mimicked its formula. Breath of the Wild brings back that exploration factor from the first game. Ocarina was enjoyable, and it is a great game, but it became the cookie cutter for Zelda games to come. Breath of the Wild is a breath of fresh air, which the long-running Legend of Zelda series needed. Its pros definitely outweigh its cons by a wide margin. This game is huge, it's fun to explore, it's fun to learn and relearn, and most importantly, it is fun to play. This game should have been encased in gold like in the first game, just to ensure its legacy as a masterpiece. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the new Legend of Zelda title. If you like my podcast, then please visit our main channel, which is often a gaming channel called Crimson Skeletons. Please like and subscribe, and if you enjoyed this podcast, maybe I will bring forth another one. And if you like Zelda, maybe you could check out my Zelda 2 permadeath run on Crimson Skeletons if you'd like. The gimmick is me playing Zelda 2 and going as far as I can without dying, because that game is pretty hard too. So maybe you'll like it, maybe you'll not. Just let us know, eh? And thank you for listening. Crimson Snake here, signing off. Good day. We are the Crimson Skeletons. We're old friends playing games. And whatever comes our way, let's get on with the names. I'm Crimson Snake, and there's Crimson Wall, there's Crimson Rod, and we hope to entertain you all. And now you know all of our names. We're old friends playing games, 'cause we are the Crimson Skeletons.